So it turns out that some quads you've bought in the past are lemons. You can turn those parts in those quads into something nice, and this is the Apollo 130 from Atmospheric Adventures, and as that saying says, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade, and this is my lemonade that I've constructed out of 2 lemons, and those would be the Ishin V-tail and the FuriBee 120. The frame obviously is the Apollo 130 from Atmospheric Adventures. It's a 130 size frame. The power system and the interior parts here, the video transmitter, flight controller, and the ESCs are from the FuriBee 120. And if you remember from that review, I was able to fly that because the one of the battery leads to the 4-in-1 ESC, the positive lead, was ripped off. The pad was ripped off of the board, and I tore that craft completely down, and I discovered that on the bottom side of the board were 2 additional pads for positive and negative, so I just desoldered that battery lead off of the top, and I soldered a new battery lead to the bottom of the 4-in-1 EC. So I was able to get that to work, and that power system here is the same 1306 motors, 3100 kV, that whole stack there, the 200 milliwatt video transmitter with OSD, same antenna, everything's the same. Even the same receiver here as well, the FlySky FS8S receiver. And the camera that I'm using is from the Ishin V-tail. It's actually a FPV camera with built-in HD video recording. It records at 1080p at 30 frames per second. And I think I briefly shared that in that video, but as you can see here, that board is zip tied to the top plate there, and you can see the little micro SD card slot here in the back. So there's no need to carry an additional HD camera on this. You can get HD video out of this. I did change the lens on this camera to the GoPro lens. It had a narrow lens on there. I think it was about 100 degrees, and now I'm getting about 150 degrees with the GoPro lens on this. And so the video quality is okay, not spectacular. It's like Mobius quality, but it's not bad for what you get. You don't have to carry an additional camera on here and get HD video out of here, and the latency isn't that bad either. So here's the what the bottom looks like. Got your battery strap here. This little battery protection plate is also from the FuriBee 120. The battery strap comes with this Atmospheric Adventures frame. This is what it looks like. It's a pretty nice frame. Overall, this thing with the battery weighs about 260 grams. So, obviously not under the FAA registration limit, but pretty close. Using the same FuriBee 120 antenna, the linear antenna, it works okay as well. You know, I had the FuriBee 120 sitting around not doing anything, and I had these parts from the Ishin V-tail not doing anything. I still have the motors and ECs from that build. I'm going to use that in something else pretty soon, so you'll see a video on that. But I was looking for, some kind of a quad to put this camera into, because it does HD video recording on board, and I really couldn't find the right frame. But once I combined this, basically it's a circuit board there on top, zip tied to the top plate. Once I've combined that with this little stack here for the electronics from the FuriBee 120, it really turned out into a nice little build, and it flies pretty well. It's running a Forest 850 Tattoo. Go ahead and I'll roll some flight footage, but if you have a bunch of quads that you don't like, and you can always tear them apart, use the parts in something else, a different frame, and combine them in creative ways to come up with something new and interesting. Obviously you can't buy this anywhere, but if you have a bunch of stuff lying around, you can always build things like this out of the stuff you have left over. So just want to throw this out there for you guys, give you guys some ideas on how to do these kind of a build and how to put them together. Hopefully what I'm showing here makes sense and give you some ideas on what you want to do with your leftover parts. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and roll some flight footage, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.